Peterborough's Muslim Community Radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Welcome to Friday Night Prime, your weekly chat show where we explore the stories, initiatives and people shaping our world today. I'm Akil Khalil and it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight, whether you are tuning in from the comfort of your home or stuck in traffic or winding down after a busy week. Thank you for making us part of your Friday night. Now, tonight's show is all about a fascinating project that's making waves right here in Peterborough, the Green Meadows Cemetery Initiative. This project is set to transform a piece of farmland into a serene final resting place for the Muslim community, offering dignity, peace and sustainability. And as always, we'll dig deep into the why and how of it all. I'm joined in the studio this evening by three remarkable individuals at the heart of this project: Mohsin Hussain, Muhammad Haq Nawaz and Ishfaq Hussain. Gentlemen, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Welcome to Friday Night Prime and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's dive right in. Before we get into the specifics of the Green Meadows Cemetery, can you each introduce yourselves and tell us a little about your role in this project?
My name is Muhammad Haq Nawaz. As you just mentioned, I'm one of the trustees of this project, and obviously we've been involved with this project just over a year and so.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, thank you for viewing. My name is, as you know, Mohsin Hussain, and I am the project manager on this project.
My name is Ishfaq Hussain. You know me probably from some of the other shows we do with Akil on Slam Radio. But also, yes, I've been consulting with Mohsin and the group on the project and planning stuff, etc. So just in the background, supporting.
Mashallah. Great, thank you for that. Let's start with the big picture then. So why is there a need for a new cemetery specifically for Peterborough's Muslim community, Mohsin? Perhaps you can shed some light on this.
You can start. Yeah, Bismillah.
Yeah, okay. Well, sorry.
Mike's been passed over to Ishi.
Okay, so for quite a long time, many years now, there's been a need for a Muslim cemetery. We say Muslim cemetery, but that said, there will be other burials within the cemetery, so it's not specifically a Muslim cemetery. But there was a big need within the community, and the main reason being that Muslims, we only bury. You know, we don't cremate, etc. So our only option is to bury. That said, the space in Eastfield Road over many years, and me as a councillor, you know, it was an issue people were raising, the fact that the space was running out. The council have a statutory duty to provide us with burial space for Muslims and for other faiths as well. But the fact was that we've moved from one area, then we've been given another lot, and then another area now. And the concern is that in time that will run out. Now, in the future, the council will provide us with a place, but the problem there is, one, the cost, two, you know, it's there's no guarantee when that will happen because they've been talking about it for some time. And as a council, I was working with them to try and get a place, but then we found out that this project was happening. And like other cities, you'll see that there is access at all times, and the way that those cemeteries are managed, it's more within the way we want to deal with burials, etc., which at the moment under the current system is quite difficult because there's opening hours and the times restrictions, etc. And then the other thing, the big thing now is, whereas before we could allocate a grave next door or secure a place next door for a loved one, say, or for parents or a couple, Peterborough City Council don't allow that anymore. One of the reasons was during COVID, you know, there was so many places taken up, and it made it even more evident at that time that we need our own place, you know, something that's managed by the community or members of the community to, you know, provide that service. So there's always been a need. Other cities have jumped way ahead of us. Mohsin can mention some of the other sites from other cities where people have set up graveyards for Muslim burial, Islamic burials, and you know, they're doing a fantastic job. And the community has been demanding this for a very long time. It was just a matter of who's going to get up and do it, and actually it's taken a lot, which Mohsin will explain how much has been invested and how much time and money has gone into being able to get to this stage now. So that's the main reason.
Thank you. So Mohsin, you know, obviously with Ishi mentioned just there about Eastfield Cemetery, clearly that's still currently the main option. You as a funeral director, just tell us, how long have you been been a funeral director?
Since 2008.
So you would have seen for such a long time how that's been populated.
Yes.
And Ishi, as you just mentioned about COVID, and that had a rapid increase with the number of people who passed away. I mean, someone like myself who frequents that Eastfield Cemetery, I myself have seen it just grow. You know, the number of spots just constantly being taken. I remember, I think it was 2022. I think we were like, okay, there's only 70 spots left here now, and that quickly got filled, and then it went on, and then I wasn't quite sure. Just as you mentioned about having who your neighbour was going to be, how it all made sense. But recently being there, it all does. There is clearly a need because space is running out. But so with that in mind, can you tell us about some of the logistical challenges that you face, and how does this project address them?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the Peterborough City Council and the Eastfield Road Cemetery for providing such a good service throughout the so many years that have gone by, and they've accommodated all of our burials. So, you know, let's not forget what all of the commitments that they have had for us. And you're right, over the many years, I mean, I was very young when I started this, and it was only after my own grandma passed away, and we looked back and we didn't have any of our own funeral directors around, so hence the reason we actually set up it right from the start. From that point onwards, up to where we are now, there has been a massive, rapid change in the amount of graves that we've got there now. And we didn't expect this many, but obviously population and so forth. So it's not only about burying or graves. It's more to do with the services. Now, we're Muslims, and we require more other services in our own way. And many of us all know what those are, just generally speaking. So there was a need, there's always going to be a need. And on top of that, if you look at wider cities like Ishi just mentioned, they're way in advance, they're way ahead. For many years they have been. And if you look at the map of UK, you'll see a massive chunk missing in the area that we're living in without a Muslim cemetery. I mean, we're saying Muslim cemetery, although it's going to be run by Muslims, but it's going to be for all. Just like saying Eastfield Road City Council Cemetery, but it's run by them, but it's all faiths. It's for all faiths. Likewise, we are here for all faiths as well.
Give me an example, Mohsin, about, you said that the other cemeteries, they're more advanced than us. Give me an example. Give me a couple of examples of what that looks like.
So one of the main examples is that they started their own Muslim cemetery years ago. And then the second is with their own facilities, and then easement for your own Muslim fellow brothers and sisters. And then all of the in-house facilities. Now, if you look at Eastfield Cemetery, with all due respect, there's nothing but just burial.
Yeah. So what would an in-house facility look like then?
So you would see a place of worship. You would have facilities of wudu, of ghusl, of janaza prayers even, if need be. And further, you've got car park, a proper designated car park for people to come in and park up. Now, at the moment, I mean, I'm saying all these things at the same time. If we can compare them to what we've got at the moment, there's,
it's non-existent. No, you're right.
Absolutely.
Let me know what you think. Do you have any questions for the team here tonight? You can call the show on 01733 602 133. You can text the show on 07411 191062, or you can comment on live streams, Facebook, YouTube, X, or Twitch. Muhammad, for our listeners who may not be familiar with the Muslim burial traditions, can you remind us of the key needs and timelines associated with Islamic burials?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think first and foremost, I'm going to just start off with one of the verses of the Quran. وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hijr, in the last verse, He says that worship your Lord until that time, such that what is destined to happen. What is it that we all will be facing? What's guaranteed?
What's haqq?
When Allah Ta'ala is talking about the yaqeen, He's talking about our death. Ultimately, every single one of us, as in another verse, in kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. So we are all guaranteed death. So with that comes a responsibility, right? As Muslims, for us, the biggest responsibility is to make sure our loved ones are buried the most quickest way, so that the suffering of the family is reduced. So within a typical Muslim household, the pain the wider family is going through during those times, while their loved one has passed away, the longer, we've seen during COVID, the amount of time that you see, the bodies were kept behind for weeks, 2 weeks, and it was very sad. The people are firstly going through difficulty of losing a loved one, and then to top that off, they're having to wait for God knows how long for the processes and things. Alhamdulillah, I feel like within our city, alhamdulillah, thanks to brothers and services, Muslim funeral services, we can achieve things much quicker. We have had burials which have been carried out much quicker than many other cities. I've seen, you've probably seen Birmingham and the larger cities where, people have lost loved ones and they've not been able to bury their loved ones for...
And just touching up on that, it still goes on. There's a lot of delays in other major, bigger cities. Although when I say they're advanced more in the cemetery side, but more on the funeral side, there is still that.
So we're more
issue.
efficient then?
Oh yeah, alhamdulillah. And that is, I think, purely because we have to have a good relationship with all the departments. And, Ishi will be able to tell us on the same thing, that, with all of the departments, if we have good relationships with them, and we can make them understand of our needs, then, we've got places to go.
From those around, I hear a cry, oh God, my eyes are blind. From those around, I hear a cry, a muffled sob, a hopeless sigh. I hear their footsteps leaving slow, and then I know my soul must fly. A chilly wind begins to blow within my soul from head to toe, and then last breath escapes my lips. It's time to leave and I must go. So it is true, but it's too late. They said each soul has its given day, when it must leave its body's core and meet with its eternal fate. Oh, mark the words that I do say. Who knows, tomorrow could be your day. At last it comes to heaven or hell. Decide which now, do not delay. Come on, my brothers, let us pray. Decide which now, do not delay. Come on, my brothers, let us pray. Decide which now, do not delay. Oh God, I cannot see. My eyes are blind. Am I still me? Or has my soul been led astray and forced to pay a priceless fee? Alas, to dust we all return. Some shall rejoice while others burn. If only I knew that before the line grew short and came my turn. And now, as beneath the salt, they lay me with my record flow. They cry not knowing I cry words. At last it comes to heaven or hell. Decide which now, do not delay. Come on, my brothers, let us pray. Decide which now, do not delay. Come on, my brothers, let us pray. Decide which now, do not delay.
And that was Last Breath by Ahmed Buhatir, chosen by Brother Mohsin here in the studio. Welcome back to Friday Night Prime. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the Green Meadows Cemetery Project, a much-needed initiative for Peterborough's Muslim community. Now, as with any major project, there's been a mix of support and criticism. One concern that's been raised is about sustainability. Some people have suggested alternatives like cremation or natural burials. Ishfaq, can you explain why these options aren't feasible for Muslim burials?
Well, the simplest answer, the very simple answer to that is cremation is against our beliefs, religious beliefs. So the only option we have is burial. Many other faiths, say from the Christian faith, are moving away from burial, and they are cremating. But sometimes that is more to do with the financial cost of a burial compared to cremation. Or some people just prefer to be cremated rather than buried. But in Islam, for us as Muslims, it's way against our religion. And the perfect example I can give you of that, and sorry, I'm not going to bring politics into it, but I'll tell you, during COVID, there was talk that, as other countries were doing, they were going to cremate bodies, and for us that was a big no-no. You know, regardless of what happens.
Was that because they were running out of space?
No, because at the time they weren't sure of how the virus was spreading and whether it could spread from dead bodies, etc.
Yeah, I do recall that. Do you remember?
Yeah. At the time, it was just like, we don't know what's going to happen here. We don't know how it's spreading. So we are literally going to blanket cremate rather than having a pile up of dead people. So that for us was a big no-no, and we had to do a lot of political wrangling to make sure. And then they actually found out and worked with us, the government, say no, that's not going to happen. But that was a worrying time for us as Muslims.
Yeah.
To think that our loved ones would be cremated. So sorry, just to answer your question, it's against our beliefs. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another concern, this is a message that's actually coming from Tim. He says, we've heard that this has an impact on local villages, particularly traffic and the use of farmland. Mohsin, how has your team... so this is me asking you now. Thanks for that, Tim. Mohsin, how has your team addressed these objections?
So we totally understand what their views are on these sort of aspects, and we have had a public consultation with the villagers where we've had some good feedback from them, and of course some of it being negative as well. We can understand their frustration, but we are trying to meet in the middle with them, where we can kind of get them involved in this project on site, on land, where we can work together and pass this line. And this is something that we have done in the past, and this is what we're looking forward to carry on doing with them. We are communicating with them, and any of their more further needs, even in terms of usage, then we're here. We're ready to negotiate.
Are you expecting a really high volume of traffic heading towards the village?
Well, if you look at what we've got at the moment in Eastfield Cemetery, no, there isn't always a very high volume of traffic. Even here, we're talking about. So, and that's a little bit out on the outskirts. So, no, we are not looking at a very high, but of course there will be some sort of traffic.
Oh, just to add to that, so the process has been very professionally done. There's been an engagement with a company who do all the analysis, soil testing. They go out and look for specific sites where it takes a lot of money to find the right site which is suitable for burial firstly. So it's not like they've just put a pin on a map. This has been years of research, of money spent to make sure that it's got to have the right soil consistency, the right drainage, etc. But on top of that, as part of my sort of process with Mohsin, I'd say in the background, was also looking at the planning side of stuff to make sure stuff, the project it works in the right way. So there's the A47 in that area is being changed. The road network has been changed, but that was not because of the cemetery. That was something that the council were already doing. But it happens to be that because of that, the traffic, whereas before people would say go through Castor or through Sutton, the junction that was coming out for the cemetery would have been heading towards the village, but with consultation with the villagers and to ensure that it keeps everyone happy, that junction has now been moved onto the roadway further away from the village, so the traffic going to the cemetery will not enter or go anywhere near the village or affect the villagers.
That's good.
So that's working with the villagers,
Yep.
making sure that their concerns are addressed, and it's cost the project extra money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's working as Muslims. It's our duty to work with the neighbours, work with people in that area to make sure that we're not, rubbing people up the wrong way.
So we did listen to them. Listen to the.
It's listen to them, but also it's like I said earlier, it's not just Muslim burials. So people from the village will also, because don't forget, there's limited spaces in the village, or no space in that village now for burials. So they'll be able to bury their loved ones within that cemetery. Firstly, they'll also be able to use the gardens as an open space for walking, mental health, just as an open space, as a really nice, well kept landscape,
Yeah.
So, and that's going to be more for the villagers than it is for people from Peterborough, as in who are going to use the cemetery. So.
Yes, of course, because it's out of the way as well, as you mentioned, Mohsin, as well. That mostly people from here are going to visit that cemetery for the purpose of seeing a loved one or burying a loved one, right? So there is that net benefit. And how would you describe your relationship with the people in the village now?
Well, at the moment, it's very basic. Because the only time we really had a great communication was at the public consultation.
And that went well, did it?
That went well, yeah. I mean, I was there. I was there throughout the whole day, along with Brother Tokir and the other brothers on the project. And we had a good chat with them. A lot of them were understanding. A lot of them were, of course, they're going to be a little bit frustrated. And they have their own reasons. And we as Muslims, it's our duty to explain to them from our side. Alhamdulillah, I think it was overall, it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
basically.
okay, this is good. I mean, look, relationships take time to build. And first impressions are important, and how you then listen and open dialogue, and both sides trying to meet each other in the middle. I like the idea of the walking space there, Ishi. That sounds amazing. We've had a message coming in on Facebook.
That area for them when we had the public consultation, and we offered them a lot more facilities. I mean, this is exclusivity to them.
That's
as
fantastic.
They are our neighbours, and as Muslims, our neighbours mean a lot to us.
Fantastic. We had a message in from Jamal on Facebook. Thanks for the comment, Jamal. He says, I have many family members buried in Gardens of Peace in Hainault. I hope I've said that correctly. Yeah. And I can honestly say they make every effort to simplify the process in what is a very difficult time.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair for your comment there, Jamal. Really appreciate it. Okay, so we have this situation now where you've done your public consultation. You have I know we're going to be heading towards a break, so I want to pick up. You have an event coming up.
Yes, inshallah.
And so we'll talk about that on the other side of the break as well. Yeah. But before we get there, though, what's the reception been like with the elders of the community?
I think from within our community, we've had a really positive welcome from all the elders. We have gone around every single masajid in the city. So we have spoken to all the imams, and they've gladly welcomed that project and want to feel part of this project as well. And I think this is something which is going to affect us all, from the people of Peterborough or people of Cambridgeshire, not even Peterborough. So widening that scope, we've crossed all the masajid in the city. We've spoken to all the imams. We've spoken to the general public, and people know there's a need. They can visibly see this. When within the current graveyard where their loved ones and then different locations were being used for burials of other family
Yeah,
members.
it's undeniable,
it's
isn't it?
just,
Yeah.
you see how quickly the area was kind of moving. So it was evident to everybody, and everybody, of the people of Peterborough, they're absolutely behind us on this project.
I'll just add something very quickly to that. We're third, fourth generation British Pakistani Muslims, born here. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, a lot of the burials or a lot of the deceased were being taken back to Pakistan. Our generation, we want to be buried here because it's our home.
Yeah.
So there is a bigger need now for burials, Muslim burials in this country, which is our home.
No, I appreciate that, Ishi. And good timing there. I've got 10 seconds to go to the advert. So live in the studio with me, I have the management team here for Green Meadows Cemetery. We're going to take a short break. I hope you can stay with me until they have completed and have any questions.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to Friday Night Prime. We are continuing our conversation with the team behind the Green Meadow Cemetery project. If you want to get involved in the show, you can call me on 01733 602 133. You can text the show on 07411 191062 or comment on the live stream, Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch. Let's talk about the support you've received so far, Mohsin. How has the local Muslim community contributed to or supported this project?
So if we look back last year, Ramadan, we did a public consultation where we had, it was in Holiday Invest here in Peterborough. And mashallah, tabarakallah, I can say, and I'm sure everyone can witness this, and there's a lot of videos on social media about this, where you see a great turnout. And it's not only about the turnout, it can even be one person, that doesn't matter. But with this turnout, it was that support that they gave, moral support, Islamic support, themselves. They've come out and they raised some of their concerns. We heard them. So everything, it has to work within our community. If there is no internal support from our own internal community, then I don't think there will be any sort of success in anything that we do. Even mashallah, even Salam Radio, it's because of the Muslims and of course some of the non-Muslims as well that this radio is running beautifully. Same with the mosques, same with anything that we do in our deen. We need our support, and this is where we've got it from our own community. And there is absolutely no concerns about that from our side.
Alhamdulillah. So what I'm getting from you tonight, then all of you, is that the Muslim community in Peterborough is very passionate, and they're behind you. They're giving you all this support. And I know I spoke about this off air, but I think it's important to say this now. I mean, why has it taken so long? I mean, we knew without getting into too many politics, but I'm just going to say we knew this day was coming, and I commend you guys and your team for doing this. But it's taken a long time.
Well,
let me rephrase that actually, Mohsin, and say not only has it taken a long time, but we're almost close to capacity, and we're dealing with this. This is an emergency, surely.
Yeah, I know what you feel.
I think. Sorry, I know you're going to say something, but I think one of probably the drivers more so, and evidently what's happening with the city council and the risk of us running out of capacity within the graveyard is probably something which highlights the risk and made everybody more so aware and things moving around so quickly. COVID accelerated it.
Yeah.
COVID really, I think before COVID, people were assuming maybe we've got 10 years, maybe we've got 20 years. There's plenty of space. We can deal with this slowly. And so,
but life doesn't work that way, does it?
It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
No. I mean, no one expected COVID to happen, right? Which accelerated, where were we? 50, 60, 70, 80 extra people all of a sudden have been buried. I still remember seeing the images nationally of, mass graves, essentially. Remember, all these bodies were piling up, and then they had one janazah at the cemetery, and you were thinking to yourself, okay, and I'm assuming someone like yourself, Mohsin, who's running a funeral director's issue with you in the council, you must have been thinking to yourselves, hey, we're going to run out of space if we carry on the way we are.
Well, I'll tell you something, just on that one note. Al Faizan in Medina Masjid has got a cold room. And ever since I've started in 2008 until COVID, we've never happened to use more than 2 bodies in that cold room. And in COVID, we had a good part of 8 to 10 bodies in there. So that already, for me,
that's giving me goosebumps.
Anyway. I mean, I used to look at this cold room and I used to think, it's too big.
Yeah, we're not going to need this.
But that day it was too small.
You see, Insan has plans, Allah has other plans.
So, also, just to touch on, you mentioned about time, just to give you an idea. So, during my time in council for 3 years, in that whole time of 3 years, one of the biggest projects that I was trying to lead on was the need for a graveyard. Because in Eastfield Road, we were having issues with flooding, water in the graves, because there's a high water table. So that took up a lot of time trying to get that resolved. Thankfully, the council helped with that, and it cost them money, but they got it done. So Peterborough does have a high water table, so trying to find the right plot of land, firstly. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, it was a statutory duty for the council to provide land. So you might say, why do you need to do it? Because the process is so slow. I can tell you this, and I can attest to it. For 3-4 years that I was in the council and involved, there was always, no, we're going to just extend that bit. No, we're just going to extend that bit. there will be a need, and the council will be looking. But you know what? If we wait, it'll come to a stage where, hold on, there is no space, right? So I'm not knocking them for it. It's just maybe the way the process is, but it's a slow process within the council when it comes to finding the right place. So we've almost had to say, look, this is desperate times. We've got to take responsibility, or Mohsen, the team behind it have taken responsibility. And the other reason that it hasn't happened before is because when you do it yourself independently, away from the council, the costs involved are in the hundreds of thousands. And although we plan in this world for our, big house, nice car, holidays, whatever, the one thing that we don't plan for, and the Imams always tell us, is our akhirat, our burial, our death, which is guaranteed, right? And unfortunately, we've always sort of shied away from that subject, the topic. And, kudos to these guys for getting on and saying, look, let's do this. And they have had to invest money, and they've had people, spend loads of money to try and, as I say, just doing one of the parts of a project would probably cost you £80,000 to £100,000 each time, from archaeology, from soil sampling, from, so many different tests have to be done. And then the consultants and the fees, and, I would say,
Endless.
Before you get a spade in the ground and get the right place, you might be the best part of £500,000.
That's staggering, isn't
Am
it?
I right, Mohsen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Staggering. We've got more comments coming through on Facebook. Jamal, another text from him. He says, "Thank you to all the members involved in making this happen. It is very much needed for current and future generations." We've just had a message coming from Saj Yunus. I'm sure you all know him. Assalamu alaikum, Saj. She says no, but he does. Saj says, "This initiative is the best thing that has happened in our community in a long time. Everyone should support this project. It is for the betterment of the Muslim community. It's long overdue." I think everybody agrees with him.
Similar
There's
to
lots
what
of
you said just now.
it is though. As you guys know, I run a charity, and the last Sunday of each month we go and clean graves at Eastfield Cemetery, and we've got a log from 2021, visual log as well, of the number of graves in Eastfield Cemetery, and we could see this day was coming. So of course, it's definitely needed. Mohsen, as the project moves forward, what are the next big milestones we can expect? Could you outline what's next on your timeline?
I think the next and the biggest is the planning application. We've overcome a lot of milestones. When we talk about milestones, I think that word has, so we have overcome them, and inshallah we'll overcome this as well. That is the intention, that's the niyyah. Allah make it easy for all of us. Because look, the thing is, here's the project. Myself, along with our team, all of us, we've worked hard, tirelessly, to get it past one line. The next line is what we're talking about now, which is the planning. And this is where we need our community to step up. Now, we sent a message out with a link to comment on the application, with your ideas, with your thoughts, with your concerns. And we would like to, this is a message out to the community from myself personally here, is that if you can get to that link and put your comments forward, it will help. Yeah. And the comment will be of the need. What is the need of a new cemetery?
And this can be, so am I right, this is not just for Muslims, even a non-Muslim, person of faith and no faith, they can comment about the need for this cemetery.
This is obviously the planning application is on the council's site, so they can. The idea is that we get the feedback going back for the planning.
It's not just feedback. It's on the planning portal. The fact is that people are able to comment. And when the application goes, and if it goes before the planning committee, they will be told by officers, this is how many positive comments you've got for it, and this is how many negative. And there will be some people out there that probably don't even live anywhere near the cemetery. Just because they deem it to be a Muslim cemetery, they might want to put some negative or nasty comments on there.
Yeah.
So we need the community to get behind this, and if they are fully behind this, because look, we're all, like I said, guaranteed to be buried somewhere, right? And more than likely we want to be buried in this country, as I said earlier. So if that is the case and you genuinely believe that there is a need for this, then please take the time out for your little part in this. Take your time out to put a positive comment to support the application, because the more positive comments we get, the better it is and the more chance we have of getting it approved. And obviously, on the back of that, we also need the support of councillors who are on the planning committee. We need people in the community to lobby them and make sure that they support this application. Please get on there and comment.
Wonderful.
Shining bright, you came to us with a heart so full of love, and you showed that you're the one who cares the most, and to us you've always been so close. Everyone will say, please save me, except Al-Habib. أمتي يقولها لنا يوم القيامة. أمتي يقولها شفاعة أنا لها. I've always sacrificed, smiled with patience through the hard times. All you did inspired everyone you knew, always selfless, striving for the truth. Everyone will say, please save me, except Al-Habib. أمتي يقولها لنا يوم القيامة. أمتي يقولها شفاعة أنا لها. محمد, I'll give my heart and soul for you. Wish my eyes can see your face and be close to you. 'Cause in your guidance I find peace of mind indeed. No one else on that day can intercede. أمتي يقولها لنا يوم القيامة. أمتي يقولها شفاعة أنا لها.
And that was the amazing Ummati by Maher Zain. I think you all three agree with me. What an amazing nasheed that is.
Lovely track.
Absolutely amazing.
Goosebumps. Alhamdulillah. Right, so we're approaching, gentlemen, not far from the end of the show. So I think it's very important for me to ask you individually. Actually, I'll start off with Ishfaq. I mean, what's the vision? What's your vision here?
The vision years ago, my vision for a graveyard, Muslim graveyard, was that we have, to give you a perfect example, if you see in the movies, you see the American graveyards, for the forces,
yeah,
air forces, and they're all perfectly in line, symmetrical, peaceful, clean, that's what I wanted, but with, say, Muslim or Christian or Jewish headstones, right? But all the same, a little nothing too extravagant. But then around it, you have which Hafsab will mention to you, beautiful gardens for people to, sort of meditate in or think about their loved ones in. So that was my vision, or what I would hope for. And the other thing I'll just touch on, we talked about neighbours earlier. The best neighbours in any house, I've heard estate agents say this when I've gone to view a house and there's a graveyard next door. They say they're the best neighbours because you know what? They're so quiet.
Very good, Ishfaq. Mohammed?
Yeah, no, I'll just follow on from what Ishi just said. I think from our vision and for my vision, I think to have somewhere which is going to be serene, like somewhere where you go and you want to go and sit there. Right now, we don't necessarily feel very comfortable. There's not somewhere to sit. It doesn't look very pleasant. It's not very welcoming. And so, obviously, this is a transition into our next life, right? So, obviously, when we lose our loved ones, maybe it'll be our graves. And I'm thinking maybe I mentioned to you offline beforehand that if I do pass away in this city, I would like to be buried in the new graveyard, because the vision is to have somewhere which is people can go there and relax and remember their loved ones, see plants, enjoy the fresh air, have water, have nature, have trees,
A time for reflection.
Absolutely.
But Hafsab, at the same time, you won't have a choice but to be buried there, right? I mean, you're saying that you would like to be, but then...
But we don't know when I'll pass away.
This is true. I mean, look, my dad lived in this country for all his life, but he was buried in Pakistan. So
let's just pray.
Mohsen, can you tell us, what's your vision
Look, I
here?
agree with Hafsab one thing that, with everything that he said, in fact.
Yeah.
But I tell you where my vision has come into this. Years ago, I'm very close to Gardens of Peace organisers, Uncle Umar. Many years ago, going to Gardens of Peace to go and do a burial, my first burial there. And when I walked in, I was like, wow, like, subhanallah.
That's beautiful.
This is a lot more than just a cemetery or just a graveyard.
It's an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and Uncle gave me a full tour around all of the facilities that they've got.
MashaAllah.
And the landscape and, just the whole idea of having your own Muslim cemetery. And then, there were so many funerals taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing everyone at peace, Gardens of Peace, it's in the name. So I think the vision was that at the time. And I was like, wow, if we could have this in Peterborough. And now, so many years later, that's the vision.
SubhanAllah. I commend you guys. I did say it earlier on, didn't I? It's taken a long time to get here. And it's good to see, people of our generation now having the courage and the conviction and the vision to do this, because ultimately you're doing this for generations of people you may never meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And then you'll have the du'as of those people behind you as well as the community. Mohsen, now I'm aware that there's an event coming up, and this is another chance for you to expand community engagement as this project develops. Can you tell us about this event? When is it going to be? How can people get involved?
Well, it's going to be in the next couple of weeks, I would say. We've not set a date and we've not set a time, but the whole purpose of it is so we can engage with the community, so we can speak to the community and get their views and concerns and get their questions in and give them updates like we've done a little bit today. Mm-hmm. But yeah, give them updates on where we are and where we're going to be going from here, what the next plan of action is. Milestones we spoke about earlier, let's deal with them. Like I said earlier, we've got to this line after so many years. This one particular land where we're trying to get the cemetery on is taken us, it was 2021 when we first saw this site, and we've seen more than 80 sites.
80?
More than 80 sites.
Staggering.
80 is just a record that we've got.
SubhanAllah.
And 80 sites is not small.
No, of course not.
Going through 5, and each site costs you money. Each site will cost you a good part between £2,000 to £4,000.
A lot of work has been carried out.
Wow.
And the funds of this is just been internally.
SubhanAllah.
We've not gone out to the public yet, but of course it's a public project. This, like you said earlier, Akil, it's for the generations. We won't see them in,
You won't.
This may be a legacy for us to leave something behind.
It is. It reminds me of, how we frequent the masjids, right? Think of the people who were the founders of those masjids, who had the vision of the first masjids that we used, even Russell Street Mosque. I just know that it was there. But someone had the vision, someone had the courage, someone had the conviction to go on ahead and build it. As anywhere, all over the world. I mean, I've travelled extensively around the UK and I found masjids everywhere. People have had this vision. The same thing here. You have to have the people who lay the foundations. Subhanallah. It makes me think about, it gives me goosebumps actually to think about this is happening in our generation.
This site,
but I commend you. This is an amazing project.
This site is over 20 acres.
20 acres. How many people are you expecting to bury there then?
We're looking, it all vary, especially going on with time and more population. But we've got a good part of 8,000 to 9,000 graves.
Subhanallah.
That's adult graves.
It's hard to fathom that number, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at how many people are buried in Eastfield at the moment. But like you said, the Muslim community and the wider Peterborough community is actually just growing anyway.
If you look at some of the stats from when I started in 2008 up to now, I mean, we've done like 8 to 9, about 7 to 8 to 9, around about that area, funerals. But then there's a lot that have gone out the country. But let's just, for argument's sake, say 500 that are buried there. Over so many years, since I've started in 2008 to now, 500. Now imagine that many graves. So if we're saying 500 now, up to now, then imagine 8,000 to 9,000 graves. We're looking at more than 200 years here.
SubhanAllah. I've literally just had a question come in from Brother Faisal Aziz. Assalamu alaikum, bro. Thanks for listening. He asks, is there an intention to carry out outdoor janazas on the land also?
Potentially, I think potentially a facility to do outdoor janaza in
the cemetery. Yes, of course.
There'll be people who do. Maybe
it's called a janaza gah.
Yeah,
but we have.
Yeah, right. I mean, naturally, I suppose janaza gah is janaza is carried out outside of the masjid anyway, regardless. So, because of the weather of this country, it makes it difficult, right? And so that's the biggest challenge.
Okay. Well, I hope that answers your question, Brother Fester. Thanks for that.
Well, again, it's personal preference, just to add. It's personal preference to whoever wants to, do their janazah at which mosque, which place.
Okay, Jazakallah. Brother Amjad Naseem says, MashaAllah. So, great work there, gentlemen. We're heading towards the end of the show. But before we get there, though, when do you think the first burial might take place? Are we looking at months or years?
We're not looking at years, certainly not. We're looking months.
Okay, so there's a potential at the end of 2025 we may have the first person buried there. This is potential. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yeah.
But there's a potential.
I suppose the landscape, necessarily, there's a lot of work to be done from the landscape side of things. So, but that doesn't stop people being buried.
Yes, that's right.
So once a land's there, there's nothing stopping us.
If we get the approval, then we're good to go.
Okay.
As long as we fulfill one or two requirements of the council.
Okay.
There'll be initial infrastructure to put in, so subject to planning application. Once that's approved, there'll be initial infrastructure put in, and over the years that will develop as the burials increase, the infrastructure will go. So it's not like you're going to take the whole place over straight away.
Yeah.
There will be open fields for many years.
Phased.
But it'll be phased. So inshallah, very soon.
Even the burials, they'll be phased as well.
They are. There's a lot. I mean, it's all in the plans, and these are the plans that we shared with the Muslim community last year in Ramadan at the public consultation. And again, we still have these plans, and we will be highlighting these plans on the event. Sorry, you asked the question about the event. So we'll be in the next couple of weeks. The event will be, and the posters will be out to let the community know.
Okay. I've got a brother Shide here who says, can we expect lower costs than we're currently paying to be buried at Eastfield Cemetery?
So to confirm, cemetery costs at the moment from the council are 5,500 Mohsin.
Around about that.
So I can confirm that there will be definitely a lot lower than that.
Okay, mashallah.
At the moment, it's obviously there's a process of costs and infrastructure and everything that's got to put in to sort of equate what that'll be. So there's no exact figure at the moment. But the one thing that is guaranteed is that it'll be a lot cheaper than what people are paying at the moment.
Inshallah, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question there, Brother Shahid. I think that's very reassuring. There was a lot of people who contacted me personally when they knew that you were coming on the show this evening. And their concerns were, not everybody has that much money. So people are borrowing money from family members to bury their loved ones.
Akil, I would like to just add on a little bit to what Ishfaq just said.
Yeah.
There are talks for those who are in need, those who are in struggle, completely no charge for them.
Okay,
See,
mashallah.
the thing is, the whole purpose of us having this cemetery, like you asked earlier on, and that is the biggest question right now, we need to be different.
Yeah.
We are number one Muslims.
Yep.
But I mean, number one, we are Muslims.
Yes.
And number two, we need to make a difference. And I see a huge difference where we should, and there are talks of this, where we can accommodate for those who are in need.
MashaAllah. So you got all bases covered, haven't you? You have the Muslim side of things, you have the people of faith or no faith side of things, you have the where people can go and reflect and enjoy the gardens and have a walk. You've consulted local villagers, and Ishi's got something to say. You got 10 seconds, my friend.
Free burial for homeless.
And you got free burial for homeless and local people in need. MashaAllah. Listen, may Allah bless you and your on this venture, and I look forward to the next chapter and how this develops. That's all we have time for on Friday Night Prime tonight. A big thank you to my guests, Mohsen Hussain, Muhammad Haq Nawaz and Ishfaq Hussain for sharing their perspectives on the Green Meadow Cemetery project. It's inspiring to see such a thoughtful and necessary